Hey guys, Will from Boosted Autos here. Welcome to part 3 of our video series on the MB facelift. So in this part we're going to be reinstalling these headlights with our freshly done high and low beam wiring and showing you how to do the wiring for the indicators and the parking lights. So let's get into it. Now the indicator is very easy. You can just take the plug from your NB1 headlights and plug it straight into the back here, and it fits up perfectly, no issues at all. There is one catch though, and that is that the indicator itself is an offset fitting on the MB2, so the pins are slightly offset. On the MB1 it's a straight fitting, so we're actually going to need slightly different globes to fit our MB1 sockets into the MB2 headlights. So we'll grab the other globe and it just goes in like so. Clicks in, and now that's going to plug into our factory plug without any issues at all. Alright, so on the MB2 headlight for the parking globe, you can see you've got a plug here which doesn't match the plug on our car, and then we've got these wires here which go to the fitting. So you can replace the fitting with the NB1 style, and it doesn't quite go in. You'd need to trim the pins, but the issue then is that the wiring isn't long enough on the car to get around. So what we'd need to do is we'd need to change the plug anyway. So there's two approaches we can take. We can either extend the wiring, so we can either extend the wiring on the car and use the factory plug, or we can chop the wires on here, put a new plug on this and put a new plug on the car side. So in my case, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the NB1 style connectors, simply because I'd rather be able to go back to NB1 again, and I don't want to put a different proprietary plug on the car. So what I've done is I've just trimmed one of the legs off on the stem like this, so you can see the one side, and then that installs very easily into the factory slot. So now all we need to do is extend the wiring on the car to accommodate for this plug. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is just trim back this sheath. Be very careful you don't split your cables when you're doing this. So just trim this back. So that should be enough for both sides. So we'll cut these wires off. And all we're going to do is we're going to strip this end, wire some extensions on, and then solder them up to the trailing ends on this side. So it's nice and simple. I'm just going to strip the ends here, obviously being very, very, very careful I don't snap the wires. One. And two. Same thing on this side, just strip these off. One. And two. Now I'm just going to quickly check that there is enough room for this plug, and I'll show you what I mean by that. If we look down here, I just want to check that we're going to have enough space to plug this in. So yeah, so we can get it up into position. It will be a little bit tight. But it can definitely click on. And that's with the headlight in its final position there, so we're not going to be banging on the body. Alright, so what we've got here is a length of twin core, so positive and negative wire with a nice protective sheath over the whole thing. So we're going to strip that back, give us enough length to solder some leads on here. We'll obviously heat shrink it as well. And then we're going to be soldering the opposing side onto the car and heat shrinking that as well. So we'll start off by just trimming it. Alright, so we'll just slide a length of heat shrink over each end of this wire, this side, so we can protect it once we're done. And we'll take our red for positive. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort of twist it on there. Like so. Make sure we've got nice flat clean ends. And then what we want to do is we want to heat up the joint and roll the solder onto the joint. So I see a lot of people make the mistake with the soldering iron of trying to run the solder onto the actual iron. And that's not the way to do it. What we want to do is we want to get the joint hot enough that the solder just kind of melts onto it. And I've got really shaky hands today for some reason, but simple as that. Slide the heat shrink up over the joint we've just made and just shrink the heat shrink over our connection. Simple. Then we do the other side. So we're going to have a nice long piece of heat shrink, slide it over the end here and up over our joints. And again, just shrink it down. And that'll just keep the whole thing nice and protected. And you can see the finished result looks really professional, looks factory. So now we just need to strip off this end and go and solder it onto the car. So what I've done is I've prepared the other side of my wire with a little length of heat shrink on either side, and then a big piece of heat shrink on there which I can slide over the whole thing again once we're done. Obviously you can't slide that over once we've made our connections, so we need to put it on before we put it on the car. So let's go solder up the car. Alright, so it's a bit of a tight space to work, but what we want to do is grab our stripped wires, grab our positive side, and twist it on exactly the same as we did before. Now be really careful you don't drip any excess solder on your paintwork. It's a lot easier to do that than you might think. So again, we just get the joint nice and hot, run our solder directly onto the joint. Simple. Shrink it down. There we go. Now we'll slide our big piece over the whole thing, like so. So you can see there's our shield from our original wiring. I'll put a bit of tape on that. It runs out, and then we'll get our new plug. So we'll just run that around and into position, and then we'll plug it in. Plugged in and working. So now we just have to repeat exactly the same process again on the other side. Alright, so our wiring is all hooked up, everything's plugged in, nice and tidy, and as you can see, low beam, high beam, parker and indicator all working on both sides, so the job is complete. Okay, so that is how you wire up the MB2 indicators and parkers into an MB1. Hopefully you found the video interesting and useful. In the next video, we're going to be wiring in our demon eyes, and I'll be showing you how to put a remote switch on that as well, so you can switch it on and off whenever you want when you're not even near the car. So make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. Next video after that, we'll be starting to put the front of the car back together with the facelift. So lots of exciting stuff to come. I've also got wheels, tires and coilovers which have just arrived yesterday as well. So we'll be chucking all of that in the car very soon too. So heaps of cool stuff coming up. Make sure you like and subscribe. We've also got a 10,000 subscriber giveaway happening as well. Lots of details coming about that very soon as well. So stay tuned. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.